Nobody want to fight. Nobody want to see so-called the Third World War, because the Third World War could be the last World War. You know, superpowers start to use nuclear weapons, that would be the end for all.
Welcome to Voice of the Nation special interview. We are honored to welcome as our guest today His Excellency Evgeny Tomikhin, Ambassador of the Russian Federation to the Kingdom of Thailand. We will look at the current tensions between Ukraine and Russia from the viewpoint of a Russian diplomat. How does Russia really see the situation? Is it at a breaking point as reported in Western media? Does Russia really want to go to war? Or are its actions aimed only at protecting its national interests and security? Let's find out with Voice of the Nation special interview.
So I would like to ask, is it because of the Westerns are worried about that Russia would become more dominant in the world?
Let's analyze different views of different experts. It was, how to say, I would like to not to propose my personal vision, because being here as ambassador, my view could be regarded as some kind of official position. Official position is clear and repeated many times by the Russian president and Minister Lavrov and other politicians from Moscow. We have no plan to invade. We want to have good relations with all countries, if they are ready to have the similar relations. Even the US, we are ready to have normal relations with Washington. We have a quite long history of bilateral relations with the US, more than 200 years. And we had different experience, we had different periods from, shoulder to shoulder fighting against Nazism to rivalry and very deep contradictions between our two countries. But what we see during last period of time, many experts are sure that the Americans still want to be a dominant in the world, still want to monopolize all global affairs. When they talk about, whatever ideas or whatever regions, they're talking about that American democracy, American model, American values. But what we saw during several decades, a number of war created by Americans in different parts of the world, Syria, Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan. Before that, it was Vietnam, Korean War, or whatever. Many local conflicts in Latin America, and now we see European problems. And some experts felt before that, because European Union could become a quite strong competitor to the United States. So US doesn't want to see a strong competitor except them. Because as even I remember President Bush and President Obama, they repeated many times that Americans are exclusive nation. So number one in the world. Number one. So, but the world changed. So there are more than 200 countries on the globe. And there are different models of political regimes in many countries. So why American colleagues think that they may dictate to all other nations how to build democracy, for example?
What is democracy?
That's the crucial, yes. So why maybe you took into account the latest joint statement, political statement made by the Russian and Chinese leaders
Yes.
during the meeting in Beijing. It was for the first time the special paragraphs in such a important political documents concerned about democracy and different models of democracy.
Exactly.
Every country
Has its own
Every
democracy.
country has not their own model of democracy, but they have their own, national mentality, traditions, culture, heritage, understanding of many things, and there couldn't be, some kind of unified model of democracy for all. It's very, very, how to say, very sensitive issue.
Exactly.
Because when Americans want to establish democracy in Afghanistan, what is the results we see? Everyone saw.
So are you saying that each country, the democracy is differently?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Including Russia, including Thailand, by the way.
Right.
Maybe local people, maybe citizens in some countries, they might, how to say, not very happy or not very satisfied about the, nowadays processes. But all of us, including Russia, including Thailand, should just move forward concerning developing of the political systems, of system of traditional values, how to harmonize culture, mentality, and democratic values. If you talk about democracy, democracy started from ancient Greece.
You can't apply the democracy from ancient Greeks to
How many
to
years?
nowadays
How many
neither.
years consists the history of the United States? By the way, I may be not polite, but our Bolshoi theater in Moscow is older than the United States history. I'm sorry, but such civilizations in the world, like India, like China, including Russia, by the way, European civilization, many Asian countries, including Thailand, they have a long history.
Yes.
Of course, different periods in this history, but everyone has its unique
Its own
historical
way.
background. So that's very important. You should respect each other. That's very important. So why Russia never interfere of anyone's domestic affairs? Because we know this very good concerning our own experience.
What if Ukraine become a member of NATO? What would be Russian move, or what would the Russian government do?
Okay, I would like to repeat the Russian, how to say, appeal or Russian draft agreement, which was transmitted to Western colleagues in December, and it was explained many times by the President Putin during the visit of French President Emmanuel Macron just a few days ago, or especially during the Hungarian Prime Minister visit to Moscow a little bit earlier, concerning our arguments about the idea of Ukraine joining to NATO.
To NATO, yeah.
So we think that we have a number of bilateral documents, including so-called basic agreement, which was concluded in 1997, concerning mutual guarantees on security and stability, and some other documents which were signed on the highest level, including Americans, including Russians, including all European countries, concerning indivisible security, concerning it is not possible to guarantee your own security instead somebody's security. So it's very important to try to find such kind of model which provide security and stability for all participants of the international community. So during 20, almost 30 years after the disintegration of the Soviet Union, Russia discussed the issue of security many times with the Western society, even before the enlargement of NATO. But as President Putin stressed many times, that NATO had already 5 waves of enlargement. So even, for example, when Baltic republics, Baltic states and Poland, when they expressed the wish to join NATO, Western politicians told Russian leaders that it would be very good. Why? Because now they are quite Russophobic, and after joining NATO, they feel much more, much more secure, and they don't talk about so-called threat from the east, from Russia. But what we see now, it's absolutely different situation. So today, Poland and Baltic states are the most extremist group in NATO. Full of Russian, full of Russophobia, and they try to dictate other member countries to use much more aggressive approach towards Russia, including NATO and the European Union. So it's a very difficult period of time, of course. We see what's happening in the European stage. We see that there are some leaders, including French president, including German chancellor, including leaders from Italy, other countries, who understand that without full understanding with Russia, it is impossible to establish, secure environment in Europe. But some politicians, because of different reasons, because of their own Russophobia, feelings, they want to push much more oil into the fire, and create more troubles, because they still consider that the major goal for Western society should be not containment of Russia, but maybe the demolition of Russia.
Oh.
But it's impossible. It's impossible. The Russian side has a lot of patience. We are ready to discuss all issues concerning security in Europe. We are ready to have consultations with all partners from European continent, as well as with the NATO. If of course they respect our
personal matter.
Sorry?
Personal matter.
Our not personal matter, but our обеспокоенность, как бы, our concerns concerning concerns. We understand that situation which we see today with many NATO naval and land exercises just near the Russian borders. Yesterday we saw pictures from Estonia with a lot of British troops located in Estonia. Estonia is located only 130 kilometers from St. Petersburg. You can imagine, they have drills. Last year, 2021, NATO countries organized more than 120 exercises, military exercises, near the Russian borders. So previously, Baltic Sea, Black Sea was sea of peace and cooperation. But today we see a lot of troubles concerning, security not only for military forces, but also for civil aviation, for example.
So since you say that Russia doesn't look into any fight, and we are remaining in peaceful situations, how would you come up with the solutions between Russians and Ukraine border in that term?
I would like to point out that Russia-Ukraine tensions, as you call this, is only the part of the much more larger issue, which I mentioned just during previous conversation. It's a part of the big issue which concern the European security and stability. Nobody want to fight. Nobody want to see a so-called the Third World War, because the Third World War could be the last World War. If superpowers start to use nuclear weapons, that would be the end for all. So nobody want to fight, but at the same time, we want to defend our interests. We want to guarantee our security. We want to guarantee our development in the interest of the Russian people. Russia did not interfere anyone's domestic affairs. Russia did not invade any country. All Russian armed forces located in the Russian territory. What American troops doing near the Russian borders, thousands of miles of the American territory, what they are doing there?
Military training.
Even you see, even we hear fantastic ideas which how to say create some American or Western politicians. I give you one example. The Russian territory located too close to Ukrainian territory. Yes, we're neighbors. So what do you mean? If you talk about the Russian territory, unfortunately, Russian territory is too close to Ukraine. Of course, we are neighbors. So please do something with your troops, but our troops in our own territory. You can imagine if somebody unexpectedly start to discuss what Royal Armed Forces here doing near the Myanmar, for example, border.
Near the border, then
it's your own affair.
Concerned.
It's your own concern. That's okay, we understand. But why so many politicians in the West talking about the Russian troops near the Russian-Ukrainian border? It's our affair. We don't want to discuss this with anybody.
And last, as I mentioned to you before about the Western media, how they portray and how they report it.
Yeah.
We only hear about them. We only hear from their side.
Yeah.
But in terms of Russian side, we haven't heard anything about Russia at all from the Russian side. For example, Russian media is in Russian language. Or you have RT, you have Ripley. Do you think that there would be any source of media in English that would inform the people, the world's population knows from the Russia side to hear from the Russian side as well?
I guess that this question I should ask you.
Well,
so why you prefer to use Western media, sources, not Russian medias? So if we talk about how to say the image of Russian media abroad, of course we have very good project called RT, Russia Today, which is now broadcast not only in English but also in some other languages, including French, German, Portuguese, Spanish. So it's quite a good experience from my personal point of view, and RT in different countries became quite popular media resource for many people, because RT provide different view or different approach or different analysis of some events, of some affairs. Unfortunately, what we see today, the biggest media corporations from the West, they almost monopolized media space in the world. And not only themselves, but also many countries and local press in these countries, they prefer to use information from Western media because they monopolize the media space. I'm sure that it is not the end of the media development history. I'm sure that many countries they developing digital economy. They developing their own media resources, and they would provide more different approaches through their own mass media. If you talk about China, for example, you see, so they have already quite important and big resources for not only for national audience but also for foreign readers. The same Russia, of course. I have to recognize that today Russian medias abroad met some problems, even some artificial problems, like the recent situation in Germany, when RT want to start broadcast in Germany, but the local authorities that they create a lot of troubles for registration. And now we had a not happy situation with German friends concerning RT Deutsch, RT German in Germany, and some German media resources in Russia. But I'm sure that we will do more concerning this. And by the way, I'm sure that we can push forward direct cooperation between Russian mass media and, for example, mass media in Thailand. Not only on the level of the government agencies, but also between information agencies, between different, newspapers or different companies which are focused on mass media. I propose, including the nation, to have more direct contacts with the Russian colleagues.
Absolutely.
To visit Russia more than before, to have some, I don't know, maybe some seminars or conferences with your colleagues in Russia, to invite Russian colleagues to Thailand, why not? And I'm sure that everyone doesn't want to hear only one vision from somebody.
We need to
even fake vision, very often, by the way. So unfortunately, we are living in the times of rumors and fakes. And by the way, I'm sure that Russia and Thailand, may have more cooperation concerning, preventing of spreading fakes. Because if you talk about government level, you have the special body which is focused on fighting fake news. And Russia, we have the similar institution. But also we have a sit together to discuss any issues, any items concerning how to prevent rumors spreading and fake news. So I hope that only direct contacts between, profiled specialists might help us to step out of this monopolized media space with only one vision, despite real or not real.
So for today, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your visit.